So most of you are lawyers, but what is political economy? So kind of giving you the very basic tools of what economists use to understand social order. Because that's the purpose of this talk. So I have a question. Can't take very long. But my question is, what do these things have in common? I'll read them out. Time-worn paths. Pathways that you can tell they've been worn in. They've been that way because time after time they've been used, right? Cities. So paths, cities, languages, and prices. What do these things share in common? People. They all have to do with people. Great.
They all take time to grow and develop.
They take time to grow and develop. Interesting. Okay, great. Other things they share in common? These seem like very different things, don't they? Paths? What does a path have to do with a price? How are those similar, right? Or languages. What does a path have to do with a language?
It's spontaneous.
There's something spontaneous about them. Okay. Hopefully, a lot of people are mystified by why are these things put together. There are lots of commonalities, but I think what is the central commonality that explains some of the things that have been said is that they are all examples of things that are the result of human actions. They come about because of human actions, but they are not the result of human design. No one designed these things. They result from human action, but not of human design. And this is called spontaneous order. So the results of human action, but not of human design, is called spontaneous order. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. So what is spontaneous order? Spontaneous order, what it means is no one planned it, is that there's no preconceived, centrally directed plan as to how it's going to turn out, or what's going to happen. In fact, there might be no one thinking about how the whole thing is going to turn out. Maybe not a single person thinks about it. Right? But there is a result, and it results from people's actions, but no one's planning how it's going to happen. Okay? It's an order because the elements are in some way related to one another, and they're in an orderly way. That's impossible. What does that mean? How could there be a spontaneous order? Seems unbelievable, right? Because if you don't clean your room, it just gets messy. Right? Dust goes in, and you don't do your laundry, it's smelly, and then things fall over. You have to pick them up, right, and put them in order. Otherwise, they're not going to be ordered. Right? So that is a kind of order. It's the kind of order that human beings try to bring about consciously. So I made this PowerPoint projector, presentation. Someone put script on this paper. They put a pen in a particular order for a particular reason. So they ordered the parts through conscious direction. So what's really weird, what I want you to realize, really, really, really weird, is that orders emerge in society that nobody planned. That order comes about spontaneously. And I'm going to try to... Does anyone find that weird? Anyone find that weird? If you don't find it weird, you're not immersed in how weird it really is, because it's really weird. Anyone find that weird? He does. Okay. No, no one does. You see what I'm saying? No? Does this seem completely unweird? Is no one responding? What do you think?
Weird.
What's that?
It's not weird.
It's not weird. I mean, it's very natural.
Yeah.
Wait,
So actually, this is how the universe came to existence.
fantastic. Okay, so in a sense, you're already largely on board. But for many people, it is weird. People don't think about orders emerging spontaneously. They think, if there's a problem, someone's got to plan the solution. Right? They don't think that solutions might come about, even though no one plans the solution to that problem. Most people think that way, except for Thomas. Okay, I'm going to give a quick video. I hope it's working even though I close my computer. So there are examples. You said that the universe is like this. Hopefully people have seen this this kind of thing. Are people able to see this school of fish here? I'm actually going to back it up a little bit. Oh, no, it didn't work. Have you guys seen videos of starlings and schools of fish? Yeah. So the fish are moving this way, and then all of a sudden they all move this way. Or there are this kind of fish. Hopefully it'll come in a moment. They're all spiraling around in a strange pattern. Okay, so hopefully if this video comes back, you can see it, but if not, you might have seen it in the past. So what's happening is these fish strategy for self-survival. All these things come to eat them. Okay? But when they can all be together, who's seen Finding Nemo, by the way? You've seen Finding Nemo? Remember the school of fish that makes patterns, like the arrows? Okay. So this is kind of a natural example. So if they're all together, then the sharks and other things trying to eat them, they get confused. They don't know which way to go. Okay? So all of these things, they swirl in circles and cylinders. And when the sharks come through, they move out of the way. And they move in these really strange and complex paths, right? So anyone familiar with what I'm talking about? Hopefully we can see it here. See, this is actually a school of lots of different fish. Lots and lots of different fish. I'm going to do this one more time. Oh, man. Okay, so let's see if we can see it. So this mass here is actually lots of individual fish. And they're all moving in a way that protects them. But here's a weird thing. No one of the fish is telling what the other fish what to do. There's no fish who's planning what they're going to do. But they move statistically in these fantastic patterns that protect them. So they have these socially useful patterns. Let's see if we can play this at the end. That no one designs. So there are actually lots of examples of this. No one's telling the fish what to do. But the fish are keeping a certain distance from one another. And if a shark comes at them, they move out of the way. Right? So they're just following some simple rules. They do their own thing. But when they move, the fish next to them move. Because they want to be at a certain distance from one another. And when some turn, others turn. Right? But there's no mind of the fish. So the order that's coming about, there's no central mind. So lots of natural examples of this. This is, like the universe is actually an example. I didn't put it down. But chemical reactions are an example. So you have these molecules, these atoms. They each obey their own rules. So when you have a chemical reaction going on, there's no central node where all the information goes and then goes back out telling each piece what to do. Each piece is going around and saying, I need a certain bond, and then something else comes around and they go click, right? And so other things click and they click, and then you have something called an ice crystal, right? It's a physical change, I think, rather than a chemical one. But chemical reactions or crystals. If you look at a snowflake has incredible order, right? You zoom in on it, it has 6 pieces, and it's so beautiful, so complex, and all the parts have been put into this beautiful pattern. But each water molecule is doing its own thing, but it's obeying rules and interacting with the ones around it to create that ice crystal. Biological processes are examples. So organisms, they have cells. The cells are semi-autonomous. They do their own thing. They have their instructions are within them, in the cells. But they relate to the cells around them. So a cell in this part of the body produces a chemical. It goes through the circulation system. It goes to this other one over here, and this other one responds. Right? But there's no central directing of all the cells that make up an organism. Animal kingdom, there's lots of birds and schools of fish that I was trying to show. And then the social world. This is where people usually don't see it. Okay? We had an example outside. I'll give you another example. Did anyone tell you where you should sit right now? No? No one told you. Okay, but you are all in an order. Someone could have said, well, I want you to sit here, I want you to sit here, I want you to sit here. But you found your own place. Okay? Did anyone fight over a chair?
No.
Okay. How did it work out? Why didn't you came in, you sat down, why didn't someone try to sit on you? There's another chair. So people are following their own rule. The rule is if someone's sitting in a chair, I'm not going to try to sit there. And if there's an open chair, then I'll choose one of those. So it's a rule. You weren't aware that you were following that rule, but you were following that rule. There's a rule you weren't. Now, did anyone have a packet on the chair? Did anyone want to go to a chair and say, oh, someone else's packet is there, or their coat was over it? That's happened, right? So there's another rule. If someone has put their coat on the chair, don't sit in it. Find another one, right? So each individual is doing their own thing, following rules, right? Following rules, and they are ordering themselves into positions, yes?
What is the lesser number of chairs than in this place?
Then you have a different spontaneous order. You have a different result. You might. But there might be other rules, like, well, there's not enough chairs, so I'm going to stand. So
But still, all of us have to sit down.
it depends what the rules are, right? But there'll be different results of the spontaneous order. I'm not trying to point out what the order will be. But the point is, no one person ordered how people were seated here. People ordered themselves. And the results will be dependent on the rules that people follow and the constraints and conditions that we start with. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. I like sidewalks as an example of pavements. You're walking along, you're walking towards someone else, and you kind of move around each other like that. Fantastic spontaneous order. You don't say, okay, we need someone to solve this problem, right? They just start moving around each other, okay? Traffic's another example. Actually, notice this thing right here? I went to Bombay recently. Hot sun, beach was out, sun was coming down. There were lots of people, but they were all sitting under the trees in the shady spots. Right? So there was an order, but no one told them, don't sit where it's bright, and then you must sit here. They just all went somewhere, right? This is an example of a spontaneous order. So how does a spontaneous order come about? Why is it orderly? If there's no one planning it, why is it orderly? So you have independent elements, but the elements obey rules. And that's the key. The elements are obeying rules. And they mutually adjust. Spontaneous order is a process that moves, the moving order. It's a process of mutual adjustment. One person adjusts, we adjust. Our adjustment creates an opportunity for someone else to adjust. The movement of the parts interact with one another and they adjust to one another. And because they're following rules that lead to mutual adjustment, they coordinate, they order together. It's something that comes about as a result of their interaction, even though no one's determining what the results will be. So the overall order results from the elements interacting and mutually influencing one another. Another name for spontaneous order is polycentric order. Poly, many, centric, centers. It's an order where the principles of motion are many. There are many centers of planning. Not that there's no action or plan, but there are many planners and they're interacting with one another. Okay? So that was spontaneous order. That's a taste of what spontaneous order is. So here's the tool. This is the economic way of thinking. This is how economics is not a set of conclusions. It's a way of thinking based on certain premises. And this encapsulates what the economic way of thinking is. All social phenomena can be understood as the cumulative results of individuals acting based on perceived costs and benefits to themselves. So all social phenomena, whatever happens in society that is a social phenomenon, is the result of individuals acting based on perceived costs and benefits to themselves. Okay? When you think about being outside, the key to the economic way of thinking, this idea, is that human beings act. Right? They are aware, they respond to their environments. Okay? So there's certain parts to this. Only individuals act. If you want to think like an economist, you have to boil things down to the individuals responding to costs and benefits perceived to themselves. Okay? We often talk about groups acting. Right? The ipolicy team did this. They played a game. Right? The team did it. The team solved it. Right? But the team, the group, is actually individuals, each acting. Right? Governments don't act. Companies don't act. Economies don't act. So whenever you hear someone saying, well, a group is doing something, it might be a shorthand that makes sense, but if you really want to be scientific, you have to boil it down to what individuals are doing. So if individuals are cooperating in a governmental way, we can say they are a government. Right? But it has to do with interpreting what they're doing. The next principle is that everyone acts to improve his state of affairs from his own point of view. It is unavoidable for human beings to act. They always are trying to maximize the value to themselves. They organize things in their environment from less preferable to more preferable state of affairs. They move from the sun into the shade based on cost and benefits to themselves. There may be some people, this is very important, from their own point of view. Right? There may be some people who want to stay in the sun. Right? Same objective circumstances, but what is a cost and a benefit is different for that person. Right? It's not a cost to stay in the sun, it's a benefit. But this should be pretty intuitive. Hopefully this is pretty intuitive. That people try to avoid costs because they want to achieve as much as they can. They want to avoid costs. And they want to achieve benefits, whatever they think is a benefit or a cost. Does that make sense? It's pretty intuitive, right? And what's good about this is if all social phenomena are the results of individuals acting based on cost and benefits perceived to themselves, we can understand why social orders come about. Because we know what individuals are like. We can interpret what they're doing, right? Why they're doing what they're doing. And the last, most important thing is that humans choose. Unlike the school of fish, kind of more programmatic, or unlike the cells in a body, or the molecules and chemical, they have to do certain things. Human beings make judgments about what they should do, and they choose. They make choices, right? Does it make any sense? Okay, so the first one is individuals act, and only individuals. If you really want to explain cause and effect in society, you have to see how are individuals interacting with one another. Second, all people act. All people are trying to change their environment to be more preferable from their point of view. And they choose. When there are multiple options, they try to take the one that's beneficial, right, and avoid costs. Okay, so let's go back to our first examples. Okay, let's think like economists. Think about these spontaneous order, time-worn paths. Sometimes I like to go to a college campus and have grass, and sometimes there are networks of paths on the grass where the grass has been worn down. Right? Why did they come about? Well, we'll make up a story, right? But we'll do one that works with the economic way of thinking. It goes like this. There's a nice plain of grass on the college campus, and I get up a little bit too late. And my class is right there. In fact, that's where the class building is. This is where the dorm is, that's where the class building is. But the people who planned the path put a path going this way, and then there's a right angle turn, and then you go that way, right? And I'm thinking, man, I'm really late, but I really like the grass. I don't want to hurt the grass. So the cost I'm trying to avoid is hurting the grass, but the benefit is not being late. Maybe the professor's going to lock the door, or maybe the test, I don't know. So I decide I'm going to go. I'm just going to go. I'm acting. I'm making a trying to change my environment, right? I'm acting. But when I do that, and when other people do that, it makes sense that multiple people do it, a path starts to form there. That's where the grass starts to get worn, multiple people doing that. And then other people come through and say, well, I don't want to hurt the grass, so I'm going to walk where the grass is already worn. Right? Does that make sense? Right? So it's coming about through human actions. They're not designing where the path's going to be. They're just doing their own thing. Over the years, this starts to happen. This thing is cut off, corner cut. They change where the classes are. That becomes an administrative building. The classes move over here. Not totally over here, but kind of over there, right? So people say, well, I can cut this way, but I don't want to hurt the grass. So I'm going to go halfway into this path, and then I'm going to go over here, right? They start making a new path. So over the years, the paths change, even network paths. Good example. Does that make sense? No one planned it, but it's serving people, right? People look and say, oh, this is a very useful path. I'm glad someone put it there, right? Because I want to go from here to there, and that's exactly where I want to go. But no one designed it. Same thing with cities. You think about cities as evolutionary. Someone said that. So maybe there's a river, good source of food and water and bathing. Someone else likes the fact that there's a kind of animal they can hunt. So they start going there. Someone else starts coming in because